All right. All right. We're here with the Future No Future workshop. Um, give a minute to settle in, everyone. Um, we're here today with the one and only Chad Parenteau. Chad Parenteau is going to be leading the workshop today. I have his bio right here. And I hope everyone is doing well today. I know it is Monday before Christmas, so I know it's a lot going on for everybody. But I hope you can all enjoy this great presentation. The Oddball Foundation presents Future No Future. Um, we invite you to share your visions, thoughts, and emotions during Future No Future workshop, starting on this event to be held. All right. So what we're calling this one today is we're calling it Muse versus Fake News, and this is with Chad Parenteau. Chad Parenteau is the associate editor of Oddball Magazine, the host of Stone Soup. Um, he just got nominated for the Boston, the Massachusetts. I'm butchering it, Chad.
Massachusetts Book Award.
Massachusetts Book Award. You can find his latest book, The Lost Bookshelf. Did I get that right?
The collapsed bookshelf.
The Lost Bookshelf. Either way, now I've got it wrong. But you can find Chad's new book. Hi, John. You can find Chad's new book at telltalechatbooks.com. You can find that, and we'll put the link in the chat. But enough of me. Definitely enough of me. I'm gonna kick it to Chad. All right, Chad Parenteau, please welcome Chad Parenteau.
Thank you, Jason. And I did a little bit of a PowerPoint. I'm going to be doing a little bit more screen sharing as we go. I might have to go back and forth between what I'm sharing, but I hope you'll bear with me. This is a presentation based on a lot of my experiences these past few years. There's been a lot of very interesting, and I say interesting in the same way they say that curse may your life be long and interesting. There's been a lot of interesting shifts in media and how media is absorbed and how media is, more importantly, thrown at us. The people, before we can even deal, one thing after another before we can deal with the previous information. I think this is a very deliberate attempt by the powers that be, and I have a feeling it's not going to stop after January 21st. I have a feeling that this is going to be a strategy that continues. It's been kind of getting perfected with fake news, disinformation, and what have you since the early 2010s. Since I noticed it myself around 2015 when places such as YouTube, Tumblr were spreading a lot of disinformation, harassment campaigns, and what have you. And I would very much argue that that's where a lot of the young Trump fan base grew out of. So I kind of had to deal with that in terms of wanting to write and wanting to react and retaliate, in all honesty, to what was happening. So I had a lot of strategies. And one of my craziest issues was that I could not keep up with anything. After a while, I started a column called Between the Headlines, which was literally making poems out of headlines out of a week's time. And even that was too much to absorb. And it's very hard to absorb and to react. So I had to definitely try and find new ways over the last few years. Now Trump's out of office, just as I finally perfected a few methods. Darn it. But as I said, this is just the beginning. I think there's going to be a lot of more people doing this. I think the people, if they want to stay in power, they're not going to have a choice. Even the Democrats are going to have to probably succumb to just endless barrages. And there are ways to do this. There are ways to keep up with this and to react to it. And these are just my thoughts and my personal experiences. I do use other writers for examples, but as this is a personal journey, I can only give you what my sources, my techniques, and what worked for me. And I've been published a lot these past few months. I've been in Headline Poetry and Press. I've been in What Rough Beast, which was a web page set up by Indolent Books, which was a literal reaction to the Trump administration. They published a poem a day for each day he was in office until the day that Joe Biden won on November 6th. Won the first time out of 7 so far. Keep going, Joe. 3 more, you get a toaster. So let me see if I can get oh, here we go. This is one of my favorite introductions, one of my favorite quotes regarding John Berryman, who in the amazing essay, My Own John Berryman, which is available in Philip Levine autobiography, basically a nonfiction book, Bread of Time. John Berryman was a teacher of his. Philip Levine notes in a earlier essay version of the book before it was into the book. It was published on the outside, and it was mostly talking about Berryman. And he talked about how Berryman began a class by holding up the front page so that the class might see the latest revelation in the ongoing drama. I don't have the book with me, but I remember it very well. He goes into greater detail in the book, saying that the article he was holding up was from Senator McCarthy of the much lauded, very well known and very infamous McCarthy hearings. And the quote that Berryman had presented, he was talking about, McCarthy was basically saying, "Oh, I stand behind my colleagues to the hilt." And Berryman said, you look at this, you read this, and you know that he was going to betray whoever he was talking about. And of course he did. And these fools will rule for a while and be replaced by other fools and crooks. And this, referring to Keats' Ode to the Nightingale, this will be with us for as long as our language endures. I agree. I like to agree with that, but I like to think that we have to do some work with that as well. And with being aware of the language and being aware of, for lack of a better word, the enemy is a key fact. Famous Bill Hicks quote was, he was talking about how he thought Bill Clinton was always he was feeling good. He said, Bill Clinton, he's a failure. And someone said, well, that's not very optimistic. He goes, yeah, it is. Realize the enemy is insane and you have to know the enemy. And speaking of insane enemies, there's been a lot of insanity about lately. And these are the things that I've learned. In addition to being a poet for numerous decades now, I've been a journalist on and off for several years, and even worked for papers and had stuff published in local newspapers, elsewhere, magazines. And these are a lot of things that came up here, the 3 primary questions. This is your homework for today, or this is the in-class work. And if you want, you should write it down. And you don't even have to tell me what it is, because these are the personal answers that you want to give yourself. So if you want to take a few minutes and take a look at these, this is the list of questions I try and look at whenever I react to a story, anything about the news at all. 1, if I have an emotional reaction, what am I emotionally reacting to? What is this in the story that concerns me, that offends me? What is it that makes me want to read this? What is this that's making me read down to the end? What is something unique that I notice? And this is just a way to find your angle. If you're going to be writing about this stuff, you got to you have to read pretty consistently, and it's a practice in terms of being able to deconstruct. And you might even have to read, between the lines and look at it, and maybe even just ask yourself a question which demands more research. In the days before YouTube, the internet journeys I would take would be dissecting books and articles and actually going back in, because I worked for a hospital that allowed me unlimited access to library and LexisNexis, if anyone is old enough to remember that, and just made a dive and just explored article after article. That's something I had a lot of practice in, and a lot of people who might have instant access to the news via their cell phones may not have this, or they may not even pay for a newspaper or pay for a subscription, because even today it might not be the most feasible thing to do with the money being tight for a lot of people. It's tough to do on the online, but if you know your sources, and if you have a wide range of topics and a wide range of political thought you want to access, then that's what you can do. And the thing that allows you to go down the rabbit hole is, what is something I wish this story contained? And this is something that you probably do. This is probably the easiest one out of the three. The one that you realize that you're doing no matter what. Everyone feels like that they're part of an misrepresented or underrepresented group in one form or another. You know, whether or not you're of a certain particular race, religion, creed, or whether or not you're part of a marginalized group in the writing world or art worlds like poetry. So these are the things that you can ask yourself. You probably ask yourself on a number of things, and the number for, of course, one of the first things you should ask is that, A, is this a legitimate gripe, or is this a legitimate concern, or is this a legitimate angle that I can pursue? Is it worth pursuing, or is it just me rambling about stuff nobody cares about? And again, with practice, you can figure that out. When you just exploring into it and looking at what you read and figuring out if other people have explored this, if other people have explored this angle that I just thought about now. And it's hard to teach, but at the same time, the more you ask these questions to yourself and just think about the last story that you reacted to, whether it was today or whether it was something that happened a month ago. You know, maybe it was a story about the mailboxes, the vote ballot counters, the mailboxes being taken out of South Boston, or voter fraud or voter harassment in your home state. These are the things that you can look at and see like where you're coming from. Not that every news story is going to be a poem for you, but this is where you build up your muscles and build up your strength in terms of research and separating what's of interest and where the meat of the story is from the fluff. So these are the three questions that you want to take a look at. Refer to another story, you know, write them down if you want to, and just as an exercise after this program, take a look and see for yourself. And there's a lot of ways to react in terms. And of course, there's a lot of ways to react in terms of being an op-ed writer or a political commentator or a YouTube ranter. You know, I've been one to two of those three things just off the top of my head. I write essays as well, but purely I come from the idea of poetry. And I'll use a lot of examples from myself, but I do have other examples as well. But again, this is my journey, and if anyone wants to speak up with a question, I'm going to see if I can get the chat up, or if Jason can let me know, or if you can actually do the raised hand emoji at any time. I don't know if Joshua is with us fully because I don't see a light or I don't see a graphic, but if you can hear me, Joshua, if you want to raise your hand with any questions, or you, Mariana, or you, John, let me know, or even you, Jason.
Yeah. So right now we have Joshua Corwin's in the building, John Stickney.
I'm here.
Hi, Joshua.
New computer. Hey, so I took off this.
Gotcha.
Also, I guess you could use this so that the people don't get here.
I don't think I've ever seen your hair like that. It's very curly, like curly hair. You usually have a hat on.
Now one thing you're looking good, Josh. Anyway, one thing that I've learned, one thing that I've tried to do, and it's an ongoing struggle, and if anyone can improve on my observations and follow up on them and improve upon them, you're more than welcome to do so. By all means, come back with your own research and tell me what I'm doing wrong. But one of the things I've tried to practice is the art of trying to react as a poet the same way other people react online, visually or with video. And I've kind of numbered my types of reactions to three. The most obvious one is the one-liner, which I do a lot of, or as much as I can. This is an example of who I would consider a one-liner commentator. And by one-liner, I put that in quotes because, of course, it's not a one line, but this is the equivalent of like a one joke, like the one, Henny Youngman, take my wife, please. You know, the equivalent of what we can do as a poet, this was online on Matt Cain's Twitter. She puts them on her Facebook feed, and she does a lot of political commentary. She also hosts limerick contests, which I post to at Stone Street Poetry on the Facebook group. Her latest contest just started this Monday, and it will be in effect until I think the due date for submitting a limerick is January 2nd. But this is something I would actually say, you should do as a regular homework assignment as well. It's a way of building up muscles and to build up your, the idea of a quick reaction. And this is just an example of hers. This is an example of, this is a true haiku graffiti that was taken about a year ago. And this is actually one of my experiments of trying to be that graffiti artist and do what local artists Spine and other people do. And to wonder if these are effective, I see these reactions, Matt Cain's, myself, and several other people online as the equivalent of, say, an average meme. This is the meme that I came up with in reaction to the Severance package. As you can tell, I'm a big Goodfellas fan. And you can look up a half dozen memes that are well liked and that get liked and that draw attention. And that's how I ask you I suggest you try and view the one-liner approach, to write a haiku, a limerick, something very short and sweet, a one-line poem, the way I think Howie Good does, to just try and get the idea of a one-liner. And this might be a trivial way to do it. It might be the equivalent of Take My Wife Please or 100 Others, but I'll tell you this right now, being 25 plus years in the poetry biz, such as it is for an independent, this is the only poem that anyone was able to actually recite from memory and type in from memory. They didn't know who I was. Someone had to actually come up and say, "That's Chad Parenteau." And they said, "Oh, I didn't know. I just read it once and I never forgot it." So these things do matter in the same way you save memes on Twitter. These things can have an effect. And the American Haiku series is something I do on my blog every week. Is it effective? Maybe. Is a syndicated cartoonist always funny 3 to 5 days out of the week? Chances are there's some clunkers. But the idea of doing the one plus of the one-liner approach is that you have incentive to practice. You can get it out quickly. And if you give yourself a deadline, I do an American haiku / sarcastic haiku every Wednesday morning. And that's something that keeps me amused. It keeps me going. I think I started it earlier this year. I wasn't doing it consistently, but I found that this was more effective than trying to do a poem collected of like the headlines, because everything that was happening from the Trump administration to his followers, it was just, this is the only way I could catch up. And it was a good exercise to prepare for other things I did this year, which leads me to the other type of reaction. And by again, I mean, when I say reaction, I mean the reaction to the news of the day, the news of the world, whatever story takes place. My average reaction time to a story, if I'm writing a regular poem, is, can be about a week and can be about 2. And sometimes the zeitgeist means everything these days. It's very tough especially if you're dealing with a press. There's a poetry page called New Verse News. And I think I was like 4 days past the news story. And they were like, well, if you had sent it to me beforehand, I would have printed it sooner. And I think a lot of poetry journals are going to be reacting like this now, because I think that's the way of it. From What Rough Beast to Indolent Brooks' new project Poems in the Afterglow to New Verse News. I think Alien Buddha Press to a certain extent, and others. And even small projects, if you're around Boston, you probably have heard of Doug Holder's Pandemic Poem Series and other things like that. And of course, other pandemic poetry projects that are going on right now. I don't think any of the symptoms that gave us the last 4 years of our existence are going away anytime soon. So I think they're going to crop up as, the disease is going to pop up as new symptoms. So these are muscle builders, and they're short and they're sweet. And I don't know, maybe I'm of the age where doing 5 push-ups a morning every morning is just as painful as doing 30 once a week, but it just keeps you going. It's a routine, and you do build up your strength. We're up now at number 2 for types of reactions. And this one's pretty straightforward. And again, steal from the headlines. I probably should have put headlines in quotes, because there's a lot of there's a lot of ways that can be interpreted. One of the most simplest ways you could probably think of is, what about Twitter? Twitter gets out facts quicker than any news source these days. I found out more about the voting process through one political tweeter much more quickly, by at least 5 hours quicker than any of the news sources were able to do it, including Twitter News. So depending on where you go, you get information, and depending on what GOP supporter of Trump you can get your own share of insanity. Let me go to, this is an article in the Boston Herald. And this was the most prominent Boston protest over the shutdown. These are like the anti-maskers. The anti-mask crowd. And it's very rare you can actually get such a news stories are very tough to do, like straight news stories can be very tough to find. But sometimes if you mix the news, the straight fact with the crazy, you get a perfect concoction. And when they quote enough crazies in the article, that's where you get your good stuff. That's where you get the honey. If you're going to search for news stories, I would say stay away from opinion pieces, because those are very hard, because they're written by very seasoned people with a thesis statement, and they stick to the point. They try not to deviate. Only if you're dealing with someone who's not that good a writer would you be able to have a source. And even then it's debatable. You could rip the person apart, but then what's it worth? Sometimes you have to have a worthy opponent. And this was a worthy opponent for me to take down and do an erasure style / blackout poem for. This is published in Headline Poetry and Press, which I'm going to share with you now. Let me just get to my. I'm going to use some of my. Oh, look, that's me. I'm going to look at. Oh, here we go. Oh, cool. And basically, I took that. Oops, that's not the one. Here we go. This is under breaking news. This is done in Headline Poetry and Press, a New York-based outlet put out by an editor known as Hawkes. I hope I'm saying her name right. I heard pronouncing her name correctly. We've never met. We've only met through tweets and various emails. And I started submitting to her very early on in February, March, when the Trump train really took off, and right before the pandemic. So I'll get more into that later. This is a straightforward erasure / blackout poem. And I basically took the idea, these grievances, and I saw basically a Bataan death march, and that came out in the poem, which the name of the full headline was, and of course and of course I can't find it now because I have a full screen. So just give me 1 second to.
Chad, what you're saying is these words are.
These words came from the article itself. Directly from the articles, but they are basically cut in pieces where I basically got to the meat of it. So in other words, I blacked out or erased words leading to other words, and just got to what I thought the crux of the story was, which if you can still see the screen, over with.
And these are called erasure poems to people.
Erasure poems. They can be called a form of blackout poetry, selective poetry. I've heard several versions from Zachary. I've heard several versions of the term from the Zachary Boss, who actually is interested in these poems. I might be working with him, and he publishes these over at his Nero book site. Not these in particular mine, but he's published others. For over with, protesters chanting "End now." Remove individuals to pandemic. Standing people, few masks, many carried virus. Some wear hats. People keep saying, I don't want my families. Jeffrey Cooner warned virus king. Demonstration promoted non-essential health. Pandemic closure. More people in public. Flame emblazoned people.
Cool.
Now, some might ask, is it kind of unfair for me to take the entire message of the article, which was informative? It was maybe putting a lot of front page attention on people who might not deserve front page attention. But was it fair to take what was primarily informative piece in a conservative publication and twist it into me saying that people in certain people of our population have a death wish and are like homemade suicide bombers? Yeah, it probably is. But that's the game. Welcome to the club. This is my own disinformation campaign, or this is my Bobcat Goldthwait came out with a satirical film called God Bless America, where one person declared that he wanted a nicer country. So he basically killed all the stand-ins for American Idol and Bill O'Reilly. And Bobcat Goldthwait's approach was, I just want to tell the hard right, I'll see you're crazy and I'll raise you crazy. I'll raise it up. So I'm twisting the news, but I'm twisting to my purposes, but at least I list my sources and I'm honest about it. But this is also going back to my original questions. This is also saying, what don't I see here being mentioned? Why do I have an emotional reaction to this? Clearly, I think these people are insane and they have a death wish. What's the angle that I want to see? The fact that too many Americans are growing into amateur suicide bombers, except the bomb is a germ. And that's what I had when I approached the poem. Something a little more simple, but also amazing, was a poem that we published in Oddball magazine, with an amazing illustration. I think you can all see the Trump illustration, right? Good. And that was done by, forget who that was done by, but it'll probably be at the end. But this is all the president's tweets of collaboration with President Trump. And if you'll indulge, let me indulge. Modern day presidential, make social media America again. Make America social media again. Make social media great again. It's actually much worse. After 200 days, fake news suppression, failing New York Times. Any negative polls are fake news. After 200 days, our relationship with Russia is an all-time and very dangerous low. He cried like a baby and begged for forgiveness like a child. Collusion? Make America great again. After 200 days, Trump enemies, phony reporting, phony sources, phony polls, witch hunt, crooked Hillary. This is McCarthyism, a new low, will never change. The crowd broke all records. The fact is, tough and decisive, modernized nuclear arsenal, military solutions, locked and loaded. The tougher the better to enforce our laws, protect our borders, support our police, making America great and safe again. Or safe and great again. A ship is only as good as the people who serve on it, and the American sailor is the best in the world. Make America safe again. Thank you. After consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgendered individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Witch hunt, bad. Sad, proud to be commander-in-chief. Sad, bad. Mainstream media seldom mentions Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump campaign. Trump base is far bigger and stronger than ever before. Stock market could hit an all-time high. Fake news. Mainstream media seldom mentions crooked Hillary's crimes and Russia relations. Obama had wiretaps in Trump Tower, voter fraud panels. In America, we don't worship government. We worship God. And this goes on for a while. And this was an amazing effort by Melissa Castillo-Planas. And this is one of the first times I saw anyone try and take Trump's tweets and make them, and I don't want to say maybe a positive thing might not be the right word, but definitely into a coherent work of art where this is more a journalistic approach, just like letting the craziness, laying the craziness bare. This is an amazing satirical accomplishment. And satire has a lot of interpretations and a lot of judgment in terms of how effective it actually is. I had an argument with a friend online who said that satire didn't really do anything. Like, hey, remember after Remember after that movie where Trump looked like an idiot, Trump was automatically voted out of office. Boy, that was great. And remember how Ireland became better after a modest proposal came out? He was being very sarcastic and kind of defeatist as well, because he's actually a good satirist himself. And my argument is that pieces like this, especially well presented, well researched, the way Melissa did this one, are very powerful in terms of the breath of sanity that it gives, in terms of making sure that there's a sane voice in the wilderness that another person in the wilderness can meet. That to me is the best idea of satire that you can, the best contribution you can give in terms of satire. It's the voice of reason while everything has come to pass, and it's an account as well. How journalistic it could be, that's another story. But these are the type of pieces that I worked on, and other poets thankfully worked on, and I'm very glad about that. And let's see. Let me go to. I already gave this. Here we go. Let's go back to. That's not where I wanted to go. Let's go to. Here we go, from current slide. So we covered the one-liners, the headline steal, which I've been doing a lot of, and a lot of poets have been doing. The Headline Poetry and Press site is an amazing site, and Hawkes is always looking for contributors too, and volunteers. She was kind of dissuading herself for a while for doing politics anymore, but I am trying to persuade her to continue. So definitely visit that site. It's amazing, and I'll share the link on Stone Through Poetry as well. And those of you who aren't a part of Stone Through Poetry, definitely consider joining. It's very easy to find on Facebook. And I couldn't think of a, I thought I was clever with the one-liner, the headline steal. Number 3 is kind of defined as how far do you want to go? We're standing on an unprecedented moment in our time. And I would never thought I would say this about Trump, but he's almost a treasure. They used to call Dan Quayle in '88 the Rosetta Stone of comedians and writers and satirists. But if he's the Rosetta Stone, then Donald Trump is the baseball diamond. We're never going to see. I hope, with any luck, we'll never see anything like him again. And I and other writers have tried to figure out ways how we can capture this and react in kind, because not only are we now dealing with Trump, we're also dealing with his supporters doing Stop the Steal. We're also dealing with QAnon supporters who are trying to capitalize on this with their websites, with their grifting. There are grifter QAnon people who are trying to get other people into it. So and there are Trump supporters who are just buying all of this and consuming all of this information and going with it. And this is something that's not going to get better anytime soon. As much as I feel, I would like to feel that I am at the end of this, but I feel like we're not even at the zenith. I feel like it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. So there are ways to deal with this, and these are a list of sources that I would not explore on a work computer. I'll just say that. This is, the two out of the 3 I would not recommend on a safe for work computer. The BitChute, for those who do not know, I think it's a derivative of Bitcoin, or supposed to allude to Bitcoin, because I think a lot of the users are into the cryptocurrency. But it's not affiliated with Bitcoin as far as I can tell. And all it is in short, is a YouTube site for people who are too toxic for YouTube. And this is an interesting site. And I do a series of poems called Tales from the Alt-Blight. I'm not going to bring those up, but I basically take them from headlines and a variety of sites. And the 2 sites listed here are the 2 that I end up going to most. And fun fact, or very scary fact, I've tried to visit other alternative sites, but whatever disinformation campaigns are going on, the sites disappear quicker than I can keep track of. So 1 month I will use a site, and another site, and another month it will be gone. There was literally an ilovedonaldtrump.com or .net that had pro-Trump news about Donald Trump about to arrest Biden and everybody. You know, it was crazy stuff like that. Very QAnon based. And I did on my website list a documentary In Search of a Flat Earth. So if you ever wondered what QAnon was, it pretty much answers it very quickly. I won't give them much time here, but you can do that research on that video and come up with a pretty definitive answer. The name of the documentary, if you don't have my links, it's called In Search of a Flat Earth by Dan Olson. It's very amazing site and very amazing documentary, informational video, editorialized video, but I recommend seeking it out. BitChute was actually, they emailed me. They actually sent me a newsletter, and I don't know how I ever found them otherwise. It was a very strange meetup. I've never written them back. I've never sent an email back, but when they send me story links and headlines like Omar and brother, Senator Omar and, State Representative Omar and her brother caught in orgy, about to be arrested. And that's not far from the truth. I just made that off the top of my head, but it's not that different. Not that different from what they post. These are the things that they send me from before it's news. BitChute is a big mess, but sometimes you can get some really interesting stuff there. And again, you got to know the enemy. And P.S., the enemy is insane. This is the stuff that I explore on an average, and this is just the crazy stuff. I also do a lot of political thought. There's a lot of typical journals like the National Review, the Boston Herald, the Washington Times. It can become very dicey the more you try and mix and satirize real news, because with the sources like the first two, the third source before I go any further, rev.com is a transcript site. And for a lot of my found poems, not my erasure poems, I take from rev.com all the Trump speeches, and then I just erase and black out. And then I turn his speeches into the further ramblings. I take the ramblings of a madman and turn them into the further ramblings of a madman with some moments of lucidity. And these sources here, which have really helped me to just basically say, how far do I want to take this? And we are in an unprecedented age where, thanks to YouTube and other sites like this, documentation is free, accessible, and you can literally do anything you want to with it. The rev.com is not associated with YouTube, as I can tell, and they have their own video source for what you would want to do. Even video makers could probably have a killer time with it. And this is what I like to do in terms of like going to the source directly, which follows to my other pieces of advice. You want to read a wide range no matter what. You want to try and find the most neutral sources at the same time. A quick clue would be, don't read anything that's self-referential. In other words, if you're reading a newsletter and they say, as we previously proven in our last newsletter, and they say volume 3, number 44, page 5, as many Workers' World reports do, as several religious newspapers do. You don't want to go to those sources, but you want to choose the most neutral sources that you can. That could be CNN.com, that could be New York Times, that could be Boston Globe. Know that there is going to be a slant, but you want to make sure that you have a truth before you go into the Dark Lord's domain and try and steal from the insanity and bring it back. The one thing I've also noticed from covering the fake news, the really fake news, is that I've noticed that certain stories have been transcribed from the really fake news in an attempt to become real news. The two biggest examples that I noted. I'm sorry, this is sounding like a TED talk, but I think this is all really interesting. This is my T-list ed talk. This is my ed talk. So what I've noticed is that certain stories would try and make their way into the mainstream. The main reason that I did not believe or that I was very skeptical of the Hunter Biden, groping stories that came out very early in 2019, 2020 was because for about 2 or 3 years prior, I was hearing about Pizzagate stories related to Joe Biden being a pedophile. And these are of course very unfounded stories using very obviously doctored photos. And I won't share those. And thankfully they've been deleted they've been scrubbed from whatever news sites I went to. And the other noted example I noticed was State Representative for Ilhan Omar. I forget which state she represents, so forgive me for that. But there were numerous stories of her marrying her brother, and that started out as from a QAnon site, and now you have the FBI purportedly doing an investigation. So there's definitely a shift in the stories, and I suggest you find as many. I actually suggest that you find as many fake news stories and fake news sites as you can, because it really puts you to the pulse of things. It really makes you more confident in what you write. I think the journalism creed, as I've heard it spoken, is believe none of what you hear, half of what you see, and everything you write. And you don't want to confuse your fact with your fiction. You don't want to satirize anything unless you're absolutely sure that you can prove this wrong. That is completely ridiculous. And that's what I usually do with my alternative headlines. I stick to the stuff that not even Snopes bothers to discredit, because Snopes is like, come on. There's no need to say that the reptilians have created a power base in the Antarctic and we have pictures. Snopes is like, no, sorry, we have bigger fish to fry. Call World Weekly News, call Batboy. And you also want to read to explore, not to, I'm just looking at the chat because I saw a couple of things. You want to read to explore, not to conclude. Get into the habit of reading sources that have sources. In the old days, if I picked up a book, for those who remember books, I still buy books, but my biggest thing was to actually look for articles and look for citations and for end quotes and footnotes and look for sources and try and explore those as well. Those things can be gold as well. And not that, that might be more appropriate advice when you're doing a research paper or doing a journalism article, but I think with poetry it can help you too, in terms of making sure your facts are straight, and there's always other nuggets of information to be found. To bring it back more to poetry, don't underestimate the poetic forms. I've touched on this as well. I've touched this before, alluding to the haikus that I did and the limericks that Madeline Begun-Kane did. But I can't stress enough that if you're trying to come out with something fast, very fast, that using certain forms of meter and even rhyme can help you out with that. I should take some time to mention that we do have I was going to go to, let's see, here we go. This is a poem that I did as a pantoum for the Transition Poems in the Afterglow website. And this was a pantoum which basically repeats certain lines all the way to the end, where you end with the first and fourth lines that you write in the first stanza. Or I'm sorry, the first and the third. And it used a lot of repetition. And this poem in itself, which I won't bother reciting, was based on a video that I watched. Remember when we went to Protest Live? Based on a video that I watched of a protest, the Million MAGA March, allegedly, back in November 14th of 2020, from a Now This Politics channel, and all these quotes I got from them. And just the idea of repetition and being able to put it in a particular context as I was watching the video. I was able to actually construct something and actually get it out. I think this came out on November 24th, so about 10 days. So not my quickest turnover time, but quick enough that I could get into the website before December, and quick enough that it was still relevant. Most websites would agree that 10 days is relevant, but as I said, I think the atmosphere is changing. I think the climate is changing. It certainly has changed a lot for Oddball in terms of the timely stuff that we're trying to publish, as quickly as possible. So as a writer, you got to know your markets, and you have to know if this is what you're interested in writing about. This could be the turnabout. This could be the quick turnaround time you need, and this could be the form that you do it in. And let me go back to the last point. Be there in the thick of it if you can. And this is something, of course, that's not practical for a pandemic. But one of the things I miss is not being able to interact with people anymore and the various demonstrations. I would have been in a lot of these. I would have been at a lot of the demonstrations. I would have liked to have been at the protest that I alluded to in the Boston Herald. And if it weren't for the fact that I was an essential worker during a pandemic and didn't want to die or kill other patients, I would have gone. But but I can't stress enough that the more you are in the thick of it, the more it pumps your blood to actually write, and the more it actually gives you ideas to put it in context. One of the downsides of just writing from news sources and writing from tweets is that it can be very tough to make alive. The one poem I just showed you, I don't think it's one of my lively bits because I was basically watching a TV screen and just taking down quotes and writing them down. It would have been I think I would have had a lot more of a lively poem if I had actually been there in the heat of it. And hopefully with the COVID virus, hopefully having a vaccine and things being back to normal by 2025, hopefully by the time Ivanka runs for office, we're going to be able to have a decent street protest and have a dialogue and explore. It can be tough for poets to compete with the new media, but there are poets out there that are trying. I believe Oddball Magazine is trying. I believe places like What Rough Beast, Alien Buddha, New Verse News are trying. They have different standards of what is timely, what is stop the presses, what is too late, what is too early. But I think this is how I've been able to, for lack of a better word, compete with the market, compete with a non-paying market by making sure I keep published and I keep relevant. And will all this work be relevant in the future? That's very hard to tell. I'm fully prepared for. There's a lot of tankas that I did based on. I do a lot of Jesus poems, and I was asked to do the Jesus tankas from What Rough Beast, and I did about 60 of them over the course of 2 years, maybe 60, 70, in addition to other Jesus poems. And I'm fully prepared to have those be thrown in the dustbin of history. But I think that's the risk you take because you're dealing with the news. You don't know what's going to stay immortalized yet. You don't know what's going to happen. I think Trump's going to have a serious impact on us. I think he's a safe bet, but who knows what the focus is going to be 6 months from now? Who knows what's going to be the focus? Who knows what we're going to be thinking about? The other plus of the last 4 years is that we've gotten very focused, and we've become very alert, almost over alert. So writing stuff like this and being able to report and react to this between social media and a president who actually knows how to use it. And don't underestimate that. Trump knows how to be cruel. But that's the central focus of anything he does, and he knows how to. He knows how to berate you. He knows how to bombard you, and that's why it's kind of scary that we have someone who knows how to use Twitter so well, and it's made us over focused. It's made us alert. It's made us hyper focused. It's made us hyper anxiety. And who knows what's going to happen 6 months from now when things change. one of my new resolutions for 2021 is to try and have the same self level of awareness that I have, maybe not as much anxiety, but have the same level of awareness going into 2021 that I've had since 2015 when Trump first announced his candidacy. It's an amazing challenge, and I hope you guys find it interesting. I know there's some people who have written politically before. It's a different animal. The more you try and write, as the moment happens. But I think the more you attempt to do it, the more you attempt to stay on top of things, on top of the news, the more rewarding it can be. Now I am going to do a quick. Here we go. I'm going to do via the chat. Dun, dun, dun. Where is the chat? Here's the chat. Via the chat, I'm going to drop the same links that I gave you.
Yeah, you said you were thirsty?
Oh, jeez.
This is Chad's mug. You can get Chad's mug right here. It says, she said I was the world to her, then I found out she hated the world. Chad Parenteau.
And only my current girlfriend and I know who that ex is, which ex I'm referring to. But
you can get this. It's a pretty cool mug, and
I'm ordering that ASAP. I love it.
At Oddball, let me know if you can get through, because it seems like
Yeah, I could give it to my mom for her birthday.
So I've talked a lot, and I don't know if we have enough for a writing exercise, but I wanted you to. Let's take 15 minutes out of our time. I'm gonna put my video off, and I want everyone to take the links that I had. These links will not give you guys viruses for life. They are these are places that tried to take money and donors, so they're not going to spam you. They're not gonna give you malware that shuts your computer off and give you a blue screen of saying computer over, virus very yes. But to give you an idea of what I'm looking through, I sent you links to BitChute and to Before It's News. And I'm also going to send you the rev.com link. Rev.com is a little more unwieldy, but if you look up Rev and you look up Trump transcript or even Giuliani transcript, they'll often have it. A long-term homework assignment would be to take any of the transcripts from the last 6 months and see if you can turn them into a poem. And some of the times the right wing likes to talk. They talk a lot. So a lot of almost none of their speeches are less than are under an hour long. They often go long. But a long-term homework assignment would be to use the Rev app and just look up a transcript of anything from the last 6 months, be it Biden or Kamala or the presidential debates or what have you. I can't get it all, guys. I can't cover it all. And I would love to, but I can't. But that would be a great homework assignment for the long run. If you want to.
I don't see it in the chat.
You don't see it? Oh, I see what's happening. Let me.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these. And we're gonna
see if you can pick a story or anything that you could do a poem, and maybe do like a first stanza of a poem based on something that you saw that gave you a visceral reaction. And I gotta tell you guys, at least one thing from these pages will give you a visceral reaction or a reaction of what. So let's take a few minutes, and Jason can talk up the next discussion while you guys look. I am thirsty, so I'm gonna take a drink of water. And Jason can let you guys know what's going on for the next talk, the final talk of the year on the 28th.
Thank you, Chad. Chad, I just want to thank you. Thanks. That was an excellent presentation. What we have going on for the rest of the year, good question. I mean, we're almost to the end of the year. We have technically one more workshop to conclude the Future No Future workshop series. The question is, do we have it or not? I mean, we need one person to lead a workshop next Monday. Could be someone, could be no one. But anyway, what we're gonna do is I can tell you what we are doing right now while you guys are working on these uh, new fake news versus the Muse. Is you can do a few things. You can go to Oddball Magazine and you can check out not only Chad's mug, but you can check out the most recent stuff that we did this week. I gotta say, this poem right here by Crystal Condex. Did anyone read this one today? Great poem. Great poem about like just like a meeting someone like family during Christmas. And then this poem by Carrie E.B. Black was really good too, and this artwork's awesome. So I would definitely recommend checking out the website if you haven't seen it. And consider donating to our foundation. We have a lot of great things planned in the new year, including more workshops. And oh, I do want to say this one thing that me and Joshua are both participating in, and that is the "You Are Never Alone" campaign for Oddball. And what that is a mental health awareness during this time. Tomorrow, I'm going to be reading my poem. It's called "COVID Christmas," and we're literally and Joshua wrote an incentivize about depression, and what we plan to do with that is spread awareness for mental health and
Suicidal ideation, all
suicidal
this type of stuff.
ideation during during these tough times. I want to let you know that I have my piece that I can share that I'm reading tomorrow. It's called and it goes like this. So I'll share it with everyone so they can see it too. So if you're around tomorrow, we have in the next few weeks, continuing through the new year into 2021, Oddball Magazine will be supporting the Oddball Foundation's mission to put the spotlight on mental health during this holiday season and long winter with the "You Are Never Alone" campaign. We welcome you to join us to shed a light on mental health awareness during this time, spread hope, and let people know you are never alone. So this was the free prose I wrote this morning. Today is the 21st of December, and I sit down on the gloomiest of days. The snow weighs down the trees, the roads are black and covered with ice. The nights are dark, so much darker, especially when there are Christmas lights, but mine don't seem to work right. It's been about 9 months, 13 days, 12 minutes, 3 seconds since the quarantine began. I've forgotten how to socialize. I haven't seen my friends. I guess I'm happy there is Zoom, and I know gratitude I should feel it. Maybe I do, but right now my face frowns and my body slouches. My back is sore and I'm sick of couches. When I'm done with this poem, I will still be all alone, alone together and alone too in our happy home. Today is the 21st of December and I feel sadness throughout my body that I've only felt like drinks or two the day before. I don't know if it's the sun, my friends, the basketball, or something else, but I'm missing something more. Is it the books that I read that are making me feel isolated as each word I digest inside my mind? Am I just running into brick walls every time I write? Is this world a dream? Am I destined to dream but strike out when I play? I don't know what else I can feel right now, but I guess my heart continues to beat, so I'm grateful today. You are never alone. Hashtag you are never alone. So that's the idea of the campaign that we're doing. It is, every week or so, after right now we're doing the Christmas Wars, which is basically your take on Christmas, the holiday season, the jingle jangle of it all. What is this? What is, by the way, started watching Jingle Jangle. Not bad. Musical. Didn't know it. It's supposed to be very, very good. I definitely recommend Jingle Jangle. But anyway, what I'm getting at is it's a movie on Netflix. You can submit to the Christmas Wars. You can submit to the "You Are Not Alone." There'll be a call for submissions for that. But during the next couple weeks, we're going to be putting a spotlight on mental health, and also, just have a little fun with the Christmas Wars. And then on Christmas, we should be doing also a video of me reading The Lonely Boy on Christmas, which is one of my stories that we read every year at Oddball. So that being said, that's a little bit about what's going on at Oddball. You're right now you're listening to the Future No Future workshop with Chad, and let's
Which
see.
turned into a kind of a ramble session with me, and hopefully the workshop is underway. I just got a comment from from Joshua regarding the sites, and yeah,
Oh, are they crazy?
yeah, they're insane. Oh yeah, they are on the list of horribles, to quote Anthony Hopkins from Richard Nixon, Richard Nixon movie. Yeah, they are fairly abhorrent. And like I said, YouTube is a pretty toxic environment. So if you're getting the people who are too toxic for YouTube and saying, hey, let's all make our videos here.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Chad, how can you tell when something is, I mean, this is like a ridiculous question, but how can you tell when something is real versus fake news? I mean, how do you know? Is it like an intuition thing, or is it like
It's an exploration thing. And sometimes there are other sites that are very on the tottering of it. There's InfoWars is probably the most infamous example. They do a lot of stories that say, oh, we have this video, we have this. They'll do a lot of facts, but then you have to get to the insanity of it. And actually, InfoWars is the one site which has the editorials from Alex Jones are like the ones with the headlines I use the most. Because he'll put a lot of truth. He'll be like, Pelosi, he'll be like, Trump cites voter fraud. And well, yeah, Trump did cite voter fraud, but then you get to another thing saying the revolution is taking place in Saras's house this weekend. It's like, okay, that's a golden headline. That's a nugget. So you have to. There are a lot of sites that will have a truth to it, like one nugget, like this Trump supporter was beaten by five teenagers, at least two of which were black. Oh yeah, I think I saw that on a news site. That's why the race war is going to begin in 2022. What? What? Wait, where's the through line there? Where? What steps were taken for that?
how'd you go from A to Z like that?
Yeah, it's like step 3, profits. Like what happened? What happened? Where is that? And it is, I hope some people are writing, just looking at things. I know, like I said, all you have to do is scroll down. You'll find something that'll be like, what? Let's
check in with the workshoppers. Has anyone ever gone to BitShooter before it's news? Are we finding anything here? Looks like Joshua is. I can tell.
I have not done this before, but I went to one and I already wrote a poem.
Did you play the video?
I just looked at the ad that said, manifest your quantum physics powers that happen to be riddled throughout, and I have no clue why. And as somebody who actually took quantum physics, really from a mathematics background, and tries to stay somewhat up to date on certain news about all that, I really am curious about that. So I wrote a poem about that advertisement.
Let's hear it. But before you read the poem, I will say this: with the BitShoot, try and just go for the headlines and the descriptions. Don't play the videos.
I know. I just
wait. Let's see.
Or try not to. Or try not.
I'm currently on it. I don't know if you guys can see
any
this.
things that I say that might be certain things, I do not believe in any entirety any of the things here. So if they are quoted in a certain way,
this is a tightrope you walk.
I hope not. I hope, like, to God, like, okay.
You guys see this right now? What I'm on right now?
Yeah, you're not sharing anything, so
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't see it? All right, hold on. I don't know if I can share it, but I don't think it's illegal to do this, is it? I don't know. This is fucking ridiculous, though.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Toxic discovery and canceled COVID vaccine.
Oh God. Yeah, this is the stuff.
Handing out coffee will get you a ticket. No shit. I knew that. But let's see.
And Cyberpunk review. Look at that. No, anyway,
and then there's a Cyberpunk review. Like people
it's crazy. It's insane what they have here. You can go down a rabbit hole through any one of these
this
creators,
is
and like
great.
I've played none of these videos.
Yeah, I don't think I. Desperate, fed up anti-lockdown protesters storm Oregon Capitol. That might be real.
Now, see, that is true.
That did happen, right?
That did happen, but
I don't think ufology right here. This UFO thing is happening.
Exactly. You have to.
Wait, do you want me to share this? This is
Yes,
like
please do. Please do.
share.
I didn't type it. I wrote it like this. So
there
I'll
for a
read.
second, but that was great.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Please don't take any of this out of context.
We understand. We
Okay, well, it's
Marianne
you
has
can
to say
always
anything,
clip
but
things
just-
up. You can always,
I'm over here laughing at these videos. I'm sorry.
Full
Okay.
Hilarious.
diaper parties.
Okay.
Like Smurfy.
So this is from that ad about to the people who came up with the advertisement, manifest your quantum physics powers. I salute you. I salute you, for you have proven science is a waterfront of stars. A fake news conglomerate of what does it say? A fake news conglomerate of fascism. So I salute you. I salute you, because clearly Antifa doesn't mean clearly shouting Antifa doesn't mean I'm shouting republicanism is fascism, because 1 + 1 totally equals 5. When I close my eyes, to the people I am saluting, I want to learn from you. I want to learn your secret ways. I am sober, but I am willing to lose it all. I am willing to do crystal meth midnight and smoke my college degree in order to prove your theorem. But you tell me I don't need truth. So you speak neither truth nor untruth. You convince me I am not in the know of the greatest secrets in the world. Please teach me how to manifest my quantum physics powers. Please. Oh, how I salute you. I salute you so hard, so hard.
So hard.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Nice. Mr. Stickney, it looked like you had something going on. Do you have anything you'd want to read? Uh-oh. Looks like you muted, Mr. J.
JJ.
JJ Stick. Oh, there he is. You're still muted. There you are. Oh my God, we still can't hear you.
Oh no, JJ.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but there's no sound. No sound from your mic. Okay.
Oh, got nothing.
I thought I could hear him.
Maybe that's just your quantum
No,
physics.
that's just my quantum physics powers.
Maybe that's your quantum physics powers.
John, maybe
If you click the ad, you can get them too.
I hope BitChute didn't
Fake
break your
news.
computer.
John Stickney raised his hand. Let's see. John. Oh
Oh,
wait,
here we go. He's connecting to audio now.
there we go. So, John, can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
You got to say something though. You just
I'm
gotta-
talking.
Well, I can
He
hear you.
hasn't spoken. He's just confusing us with his quantum physics powers. Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Are you watching the Alex Jones?
Bit.
Okay, hopefully he'll come back. Mariana, have you come up with anything?
I'm so pissed off right now. I just looked at this video and article, and I have to compose my anger.
Wow. I feel for you. I feel
What
for
is-
you.
So I have 6 children,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And there's this article. This woman's in the library we call a library in New York, a library, with her child, and she's refusing to wear a mask. And the article is calling it like medical tyranny and discrimination. And this is the way, because they called the cops and they kicked her out of the library.
Right.
And she's like, I'm gonna get lawyers. And like, what the hell is wrong with people? Like, at what point do you offer your child's life as like a, what's the word, like you're a, you know, like your child's life means nothing. It's just simple to, I'm offering my child up to the COVID virus to show you, America, how, you know, how unwilling I am to conform. Like, it's stupidity. You know, I'm just upset. I'm sorry. I just can't get over this.
Do you want to take a few minutes and write something down?
Yeah, like give me a few minutes to think this out.
Okay. Which site is that from?
Or you can click your quantum powers
Let's
and
see.
have them go away.
Oh, Brightspart. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh,
Breitbart? Yeah.
Yes.
that's what now that one, I remember that one. Is that one of the more prominent fake news sites?
Okay, no, hold on. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong. I have a bunch of, it's actually it's InfoWars.
Oh, gotcha.
InfoWars. Okay.
Yeah.
InfoWars. Yep.
And it probably did happen, but of course you can tell the editorial slant of it all.
Yeah, December 21st. Yeah, they. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me get my stuff together.
I think John Stickney will be back.
He just said Zoom's starting again.
Okay, cool.
So I'll take this minute while to talk about the foundation. Chad and I and other members of Oddball Magazine, along with a few advocates from outside of Oddball Magazine, some mental health advocates, started the Oddball Foundation. We're 501c3. We are 501c3. We are not pending anymore. We just got our 501c3 the other day. So woo! We're no longer pending. We are 501c3, tax exempt.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have a lot of good things planned in the new year, including
Trying to open the Human Foundation, as in Seinfeld.
Yeah, the Festivus for the rest of us, and the muffins, just the top of the muffin. That's what the foundation is. It's the top of the muffin. Or is it? Hold on, is it the top of the muffin or is it the bottom of the muffin? You guys know this is Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, no, I
It was the top of the muffin, right? They got rid of the everything else. It was just the top of the muffin. Muffin. Anyway, well, anyway, we have a lot of cool stuff planned. If you are listening to this, and we've been putting on these Future No Future they are fundraisers, I guess, but they're mainly just free workshops for people to talk about different sides of poetry. I did one about writer's block. Joshua did a wonderful one about centos. Chad is doing this amazing one about fake news, and Liza did a great one on the pendulum, and it's been great. You know, next week I think we're gonna conclude the Future No Future workshop series today. I think we're gonna take the next week off because honestly, we've given 5 free workshops. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I do the math right? 5 free workshops.
well, 1 + 1 = 5 if you harness your quantum physics powers.
Well, 2 + 2 = 5 if you believe in 1984. Says Big Brother. So yeah. So when we come back in the new year, we'll do more workshops. We'll do more workshops probably on Zoom, but we're going to do some live events in the Boston area, including a 5K we'd like to come up with for suicide prevention, a workshop, not only workshops, live events, open mics, poetry stuff. Also, we're going to be very active, but we also have some ideas for a 5K, a beach cleanup, some cool ideas. And right now we're focusing on the You Are Not Alone or You Are Never Alone campaign right now, continuing, and some other cool stuff. So we're gonna keep on bringing workshops to you via Zoom in the new year, but we have a lot of plans in the new year as well. So consider donating. If you want to get involved or have an organization that wants to get involved, we're open and we'd love to collaborate. Honestly, let me say that again. If you want to get involved or have an organization that is already doing something that wants to get involved with us, we're open and we love to collaborate. We really feel like collaboration is where it's at. That's the best way to get change happen and things done. So if you're, oh, and also real quick, season five is now streaming of the Oddball Show on Apple, on all the podcast platforms. You might be seeing a commercial on Facebook floating around, but we've had Vermin Supreme on the podcast. We've had Slug from Atmosphere on the podcast. We've had Sage Francis on the podcast. We've had Elaine Hall on the podcast. We've had Tim Gager on the podcast. We've had Elaine Hall on the podcast. We had David O'Leary on the podcast, and we had Sarah Davidow and Thomas Brown of Mass Act on the podcast. And it's been amazing. Are you drinking eggnog? Is that eggnog? Is that orange juice? Is that
sorry, no, it's a caffeine-free chai tea.
Oh, that looks delicious.
Because I don't have the caffeine. I had all the caffeine already.
Do you not drink caffeine? Is that not
No, I do. I had all the caffeine already. I just don't drink coffee.
You know, I've been drinking green drinks lately. Green, pale, fruit.
Is that like man, woman, child, like green, pale, fruit?
Green, pale, fruit, matcha.
You know, oddball is groovy.
Oddball is. Hey, tomorrow you can definitely check out Joshua's column as well as my column tomorrow.
Yeah, I wrote something.
Share what you wrote, Joshua, as like a preview.
I won't share all of it, but I will share just a part of it as a preview.
And can you talk about the "You Are Never Alone" idea?
Yeah, and all because so I do this thing also of it, but yes, the "You Are Not Alone" thing, and it's something that I believe as a core belief that's really important is that poetry and different things can really also help to change, to help individuals. You know, I also teach stuff with regard to using poetry in different modes of expression, not as a therapy, but as therapeutic. And I think that writing about certain things or showing through writing like, hey, you're not alone. I've been through this too. Look, I use this to kind of help. This is what worked for me. I've been through this experience. Here's my experience, strength, and hope. And you know what? You can write about this too. You know, when you get to a certain place or a certain thing, you know what, and others are doing this, and we want to let you know that it's okay, and you're allowed to do this. You know, in many different things of depression, addiction, suicidal ideation. I actually had something with, around that of suicidal ideation that happened like of last weekend, a thing, and I actually utilized that's going to be for the incentivize for my weekly column. You know, there's on Tuesday there's Jagged Thoughts, and then there's the incentivize, and for the incentivize I utilize that, and so it's a 3-part column, and I'm going to share a little bit from the second part, which is a meditative insert, which means you get into a meditative state and kind of write from that, and I kind of document that. So for me, what it was is kind of, I was in that suicidal ideation, kind of like that state of everything, and my back against, you know, the bathroom. And I kind of like, I called my therapist, my 12-step sponsor, my mom, you know, and, you know, okay, so let me just do that. And I'm meditating on the dribble of my, you know, and I'm open about this. I meditated on the dribble of my, you know, saliva going down there to kind of get to my find your center. You need to find your center. And so my center was numb. And I really discovered that through writing some poetry on my phone, and wrote a little series for the meditative insert called Numb. So I'll read a tiny bit from that. And you can check out the full column and everything else on Oddball. The full thing will be up with the word centers and the combined stuff on, so I guess that's Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So this is a little tiny apart from that, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, so for the meditative insert, use poetry as a means to overcome incredibly difficult challenges. For instance, when you find yourself dealing with some suicidal ideation or something and you've just thrown down the knife and are hiding in your bathroom after contacting individuals to be safe, and you start typing on your phone and find ways to write and to find your center. In this case, your center is numb. Your center is numb, is to numb out to that incredible sadness you feel, but also to realize that numb is an okay place to go, especially when numb is done healthfully. As you meditate on the dribble of your spit, slow collision with bathroom tile, back against wall, right like there's no tomorrow, right till heart content, right your center, you're numb. Bulb, I see light bulb, spots, spit, I see little spots, the toilet, I want to die, I don't want the wild eyes. Entertain the madness as stairways become paper thrown on heaven's ceiling. Heaven is just out the window, and there are knives outside the window, and when you don't have a cell phone and all you see are knives, what do? Who do you call when you don't have your center, when panic is reality and the wild eyes are coming? I miss mountain, wise father so cold. I miss mountain, I want to hear raindrops instead of tears. That's a little tiny part of it. It's longer, but that's a little tiny part.
So you can check that out. You can see Joshua's poem,
so that's in honor of the You're Not Alone.
You are not alone. You are never alone. We're still working on that hashtag, but I think so. You are never alone. And yeah, so that's tomorrow. And you can also check out the Christmas Wars, which is, Chad, can you just tell us a little bit about what we're doing with the Christmas Wars, which is kind of just like, you know.
It's basically my response to the idea of a war on Christmas, and people's replies, which can be anti-holiday, although I've loosened up the rules a little bit. So there are some more pro-holiday stuff that's going to be coming up, and also some direct commentary of what's been going on this year and what Christmas is going to mean.
Yeah.
Throughout the year, we have some interesting takes coming in, and we'll have more tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're gonna. I think tomorrow is a Twisted Christmas Story from Susan Tepper. So we're, it'll be fun. We're trying to keep the fun.
Yeah. There's some really great authors at Oddball who've been submitting them. One is Susan Tepper. She's a great writer who's been on Oddball a bunch lately.
We've had also, what was it? Rosemary Wahala Chalmers.
Oh, yes.
That was there for the RBG.
Mm-hmm.
We had her.
Yep.
We had Oddball's been on everything. They've done everything. I think Oddball was like one of the first magazines or for the affiliated magazine to be on the Ruth Bader Ginsburg stuff, to pick up of those poet stuff. I think it was the beginning of as the next week, immediately, boom.
We picked up quick. I mean, the thing about it is, Chad is a great associate editor, and he's very. We're just quick to act on quick news, and
from reading the news.
Well, yeah, by doing timely submits,
as well as the news that you need to remember isn't news.
Which is the focus of this, which is, the takeaway from this workshop is, and we'll wrap up so we can all do celebrate our week, which is Festivus for the rest of us. Chad, thank you again. Any last words?
I want to see, has Mariana come up with anything? I would hate to.
Oh yeah, Mariana, do we got anything?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's see. All right. I've never been good at religion. I've actually never really been good at church. I was kicked out when I tried to put a loaf of bread in the collection plate instead of money. He said I need to reread the book and start from the beginning. So I said, I think there's a part in that book that says he so loved the Lord, so he gave him his only begotten son. And they follow. They follow like hollow marionettes, modern puppet show. No hard wires, all Wi-Fi beams. Watch as they offer their children as martyrs. Strange form of motherly love, no gun, no pill, no mass stare. Be free. Hug me more and pop pop. Group picture, last picture. Look at them. All smiles before reality sinks in. Their lungs harden and their hearts stop beating. And I just stopped there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That was really good.
Wow, I have chills.
That was
I have
awesome.
goosebumps.
Thanks.
Oh,
Nice work.
Just send that to Chad or I, and we should publish that because that was
When
really
you finish it.
Okay.
or I would do a chapbook or something based on that. Honestly, like continue it. But I feel like that poem is finished. Honestly,
I felt like the poem was finished too. Maybe there's more to it.
that was a beautiful piece. I really got all that. You captured that so well, Chad. Your method worked of like
Yeah, your
going to
method
that,
worked.
and then yeah.
So what did you do? You grabbed that. So this is.
It was an InfoWars story, and she went with it.
There you go.
To sum it up.
Yeah.
So would you like when you do that, or would you make sure to like write like which one it was so that like people know, or like I
Yeah.
feel like that should be important, you
Yeah, I
know?
feel like that's what you would do, right?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends on. I think if you're, it's not all. It's good to list the source at least. Maybe not do the link, but it's
Mhm.
sometimes you can be sparing. You don't want it to be an entire footnote, but use your discretion, especially if you're using multiple sources.
Or like in
Feel like
italics
in
right after the
response
title.
to-
Yeah, yeah,
Could you like write like whatever the title in response to InfoWars?
Okay.
yeah. There you go.
Is that what you do a lot, Chad, or do you do?
Sometimes I do. So other times, mostly I've been doing. I've been reciting from like entire stories or doing erasures of entire articles, so I have to list them. Or I'll do like blackout poetry of like letters. I actually included a letter from a poem from Derek Mong from Headline Poetry and Press. He's one of the ones I forgot to go over, where it was he did an amazing thing on Trump on a Trump letter. That was, if I can look at it right here, give me one sec. It was it was called The Whitewash On, and it was a Presidential CARES Act letter, and where it was basically a self-applauding letter about the healthcare and the global virus. But he totally erasures it to say, my fellow Americans, great try, an unprecedented challenge, a global virus. Our top priority is we wage war on hardworking Americans like you. It was, yeah.
That was in. Oh wow, that's so cool. So he pulled every one of those words out of that.
Yep.
Right.
So like
letter.
He blacked it out and made it that. It was pretty interesting.
Does it show the blackout like in it,
It
also?
does,
So like you can see that there's blackout, so it's not just.
Sometimes he actually does on the header on the headline of, you can actually see the letter where you see the first paragraph. So it is definitely that letter. If you go up, if you click on the link that I showed you, it's again, his name is Derek Mong. He definitely.
Oh, I gotta click out of these things
Can
before
I
they
ask you,
start
Chad,
giving.
do you have to go in succession,
Huh?
or do you have to like? Go
That's
like
the rule.
line by
That's the
line?
rule to go to do a secession. It has to be a progression. It has to be
Okay.
from beginning to end. You can't just like take the words and make it magnetic poetry.
Right, that's what I was saying. I was like,
Right.
I was wondering. Okay. All right, cool. So we're gonna close off, but a couple of things that Chad talked about, which was in this fake news versus the Muse workshop, was a couple cool websites that you can go and take a look at. He mentioned Pantoons. He mentioned, is that what it's called? Pantoons?
Pantoons, yep.
Pantoons, erasure poems, and all sorts of cool stuff. So check out this this workshop, this video here, if you want to re-listen to, there's a lot of good gems that Chad dropped. And I want to thank everyone who's been a part of the Future No Future. I really want to thank Chad for his time today, and thank you all the Joshua and Mariana, and thank you all for listening. And there's we'll post some links to this video in the Facebook chat.
The last link I posted was a link to the documentary In Search of a Flat Earth.
Oh, yeah, nice. I wrote that down. I wanted to find that.
It's an hour and 16 minutes long, and it does have some supplementary videos afterwards, but it basically starts out as the writer-director proving that the Earth has a curvature, and then just goes from there and goes down a rabbit hole. It's worth seeing just for the clips of the flat Earth people, where one of them is like going off on a theory saying, yeah, this is what the powers that be don't want you to. It's like the three powers: the ring, the gotta take a hit. Like you hear that in the middle of the video. Like all of a sudden you can hear him go, I gotta take a hit. And it's just like it's a real video professing that the flat Earth conspiracy. It's like these people are nuts. And Dan Olson basically breaks it down beautifully and sees the community and breaks down the connection between flat Earth and QAnon.
That's great, because I'm totally gonna watch that, because I was wondering if that was like on like Netflix or whatever. So.
It's just a YouTube video. The guy makes YouTube videos for a living. He's got a Patreon, and he does amazing work. He's done like little mini films on like the Red Pill movement and other stuff like that. He's worth a week of just like looking at his stuff. He's got amazing stuff.
All right, awesome. And if you want to hear more from Chad Parenteau, check out Art Without Ego and Lucci. Lucci put out it's on Spotify.
Did you actually listen to that?
I listened to about an hour of it. It was really great.
Oh, God, I didn't even listen to it yet. I can't.
It was really good. It was really good production values. It was actually really good. And it was.
Thank God. I'm gonna have to break I'm treating myself to it on Christmas because I couldn't listen to it right.
It was actually very entertaining. I don't know where it's a long one. It's like an hour. Did you guys did you film it? Like
we just talked. We just gave ourselves social distance at a JP Licks, and I was like practically shivering as the night got colder and we talked.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. So if you want to hear more of Chad, Art Without Ego, and also I honestly swear to God, we're gonna wrap up. Every Wednesday, Chad Parenteau does an amazing open mic that's free, just like this. It's on Zoom. Before it was in person, but it's on Zoom.
And this week I'm the feature because I don't do enough this week.
And Chad is the feature.
I'm my own feature. Like it's.
So
because I just have nothing better to do, but next week Rick McIntyre is the
Rick McIntyre, and you've had some really it's a great open mic. And the last person I'm gonna shout out besides Joshua's assiduous dust, which you should check out, is Tim Gager's Dire Literary Series. These are all good things, all good poetry things that are happening. So Chad, will you say that thing you say at the end of every Stone Soup so we can go?
The show's over. See you next time.
Show's over.
Oh man, it's
Chad
a conspiracy.
He dropped the mic. He just left.
It's a conspiracy.
All right, Joshua.
The show is not over.
Bye, Mariana.
Good night. See you guys. Take care.
Mariana, keep in touch, okay?
I will.
Yeah, that's a great poem.
Oh, thank you.
Send it to me, Mariana, please.
What's the email? What's the
It's editors@oddballmagazine.com.
All right, gotcha. All right, see ya.
All right, bye. Bye. And then there were two, Joshua.
Okay.
All right. Hey, check out Joshua tomorrow. You Are Never Alone campaign. We're kicking it off tomorrow with Oddball Magazine.
Yeah. Oh, and also for assiduous dust, there might be some we're gonna work out, but there might be some cool stuff. You should also, if you go back and watch with Jason Wright of the episode with him for assiduous dust.
Yeah.
But also this Friday, is in case you didn't know, I learned it just recently, but Friday is Christmas Day. But I bet you didn't know that also. It's also the Assiduous Dust closer.
Finale of the year, right?
For the season, for the year. But there's going to be a lot of groovy guests for next for the following year. Like we're looking into potentially some stuff with.
So if you're a poet and
yeah,
a fan of poetry,
like we're gonna have Tim Green of like Rattle, maybe we're working that out. We're gonna have like maybe Dana Joya of the California State Poet Laureate. There's just a bunch of cool individuals it's gonna be really awesome. But this Friday is Melissa Studdard, who's has done some really great stuff, and Misty Milwee, who's an incredible synesthesia artist and poet.
And where can you get Assiduous Dust?
Right now, what you can do, you can go onto Facebook. There's a Facebook page, Assiduous Dust. You can also go onto Joshua Corwin, so my name here for the YouTube channel. Should have a handsome face on that. You could like and subscribe, and you can also go to the website of joshuacorwin.com and find stuff there. You can also find it on Anchor, Spotify, the whole listening platforms.
All right, awesome. So check out Assiduous Dust.
It might be also on some stuff with Oddball coming up.
In the future,
that should be.
Yeah, in the future, I think we're gonna be premiering Assiduous Dust on Oddball.
Yeah.
So you can check out those podcasts of Joshua's. So Joshua, I gotta go. You gotta go. The Facebook crowd's gotta go.
Oddball out.
Oddball out. All right.
You're an oddballer. You're an oddballer. We're all oddballers.
We're all oddballers. We out.